So now we're going to check in with the local politics of California. So as far as I know, California, their governor, their Democratic primary for governor has about 100 people in it or something. They had a debate, I think, last night. I don't know how they were able to fit that many people on stage, but yeah, there's a lot of people out there. I know some of the names. I know that there's the billionaire dude, the Tom Steyer, if I remember correctly, is one of the highlights. So it looks like he has some clips in here. So we're just going to watch this. Oh, we got Scott Jennings, a Scott Jennings alert. He recovered from the vicious mogging that Adam Mogler gave him. And so maybe he's back. Okay, so let's just go ahead and watch this video and we'll see. We'll see what's going on with the California governor's race. See if we can make a decision on who we would vote for if we lived in California.
California and yourself, what did you make of how they differentiated themselves tonight in this crowded field?
Well, look, I mean, I thought that Tom Steyer, his experience showed. He's run for president. They tried to jump on him a couple of times. He's a conviction politician. And if you like, strong left-wing politics, he was your guy. The problem we have in California is we produce more billionaires than any nation or state, and we resent the hell out of them. And so I'm not sure how many people are going to stick with him because he's a billionaire. I thought Matt Mahan.
I will say him being a billionaire is the sketchiest thing. Everything that I've heard from his actual policies and stuff, I personally like. But him being a billionaire does I have a lot less trust, an immediate distrust for them.
Showed a breath of fresh air. He's a young guy. He's new to politics. He was pragmatic. But I think Becerra didn't do himself much good. I think he looked pretty squirrely on the Medicare for All issue. He was a little bit squirrely on some other stuff. He's been the rising star because of Swalwell getting out. I don't think he helped himself tonight.
There were a couple of dynamics. I mean, there's the Trump of it all, which we'll definitely get to. But for the Democrats, the 5 of them on the stage, I do think that in a state like California, you've got a lot of progressives. They're very liberal. But there's definitely a sense that they know people want some change. They know.
Yeah, Swalwell. Yeah, I mean, he maybe he would have. I don't know. This was hard because there were so many candidates. I think that he was ahead when he, was forced out of public life in its entirety for, the allegations against him. So, but at this point, I'd have to look at the polling to see how people are doing right now.
That. If Californians think things are not going so swimmingly in the state, something's got to give.
Yeah, absolutely. Prices are high there. They each had to say something about the previous governor. You also have a situation where I think a lot of Democrats don't feel like this is the ideal ticket, that you don't have people on the stage that people are in love with.
Right.
Eric Swalwell dropped out of the race because he had sexual assault allegations against him. There are some major changes that need to happen within the Democratic.
Okay. Here, let me pull this up real quick. Okay, so we got Becerra. I don't know how to say all these people, and I'm not a California dude, so I don't know who all these people are really, but 18, Hilton 18, Bianco 14, 12% Steyer. So Steyer's, it looks like, in 4th place. This is a bunch of pollsters. This one has him in 2nd place, 3rd place here. Again, I don't know that much about all these other people, so maybe some of them are better than him. He's the only one I've really heard of, though, at this point, other than Swalwell, who had to drop out.
It's a moment of reckoning for the Democratic Party in California. But I do think that overall issues like the cost of living, affordability, healthcare, all of these things are still things that people care about in California, and there needs to be major change. And it's not just policies because of the president and the war. It is policies because the governor will likely be on the presidential ballot in 2028. And so this is also a referendum on him.
Brad?
I think you're right, Zoji, about that's a California good Democrats do have to stare it in the face what has been happening inside the California Democratic Party that's led to the affordability challenges. Democrats all across the country this year have decided to try to make the election about affordability, but the most Democratic state in the country is the most unaffordable state. That's why 1.23 million people have moved out of the state. and moving to places like Nashville and Texas. And so, until, I only heard Matt Mahan tonight talk about.
I mean, they always say like the most Democratic, but like the governor before was Newsom, right? Like, and he's going on to be president, or like trying to be anointed as president by by the DC or the DNC or whatever, right? So, but he's just a classic neoliberal. Like they're all engaged in neoliberalism in California. If you want to address actual affordability for like workers and like working class people, you're going to have to start looking, like, in my opinion, beyond the confines of liberalism. But yeah,
affordability in a real pragmatic way of what he could do about it. You talk about eliminating the CEQA process, which is an environmental review process.
Walk miles. I agree. I completely agree. Get Wesley Bell out of there, man. He sucks.
That makes infrastructure construction
Apex
impossible.
stooge.
He talked a little bit about the tax problem, about how California is one of the highest tax states. I thought Katie Porter might have had a lane to do that tonight, but I didn't see it from her.
Well, let me play what she said about the billionaire tax. It's been so controversial in California. Listen.
This tax isn't going to fundamentally change California's economy in the way that young people and the working people of California need. It's a one-time tax, but we don't have one-time revenue needs. It taxes billionaires, as if half billionaires don't have two nickels to rub together and couldn't chip in a little bit more. So yes, to a progressive tax code. Yes, to the wealthy paying more. But this tax is about cheap political points. It is not about really fundamentally changing California's economy for the better. That's going to take real political courage.
Billionaires like me should pay more tax.
Wait, so Katie Porter is criticizing the billionaires tax? Okay. It's so funny. It's so funny because, like, she's not the billionaire here. Tom Steyer is the billionaire here. And it sounds like he's going to go into like, yes, please tax me more.
Economy for the better. That's going to take real political courage.
Billionaires like me should pay more taxes, and the big corporations should pay more taxes.
Excuse me,
and
you
that's
literally
why,
said...
if this proposition is on the ballot in November, I'll vote for it. But going forward, we do need to go further. This is a one-time tax, and it also doesn't spread the money across the government the way everything else does.
That was one of those times they were kind of trying to jump on Tom Steyer, but he actually did pretty well for himself. So.
Well, if you support the billionaire tax, which actually maybe many Californians do, I think Katie Porter is betting that some Californians, they want a progressive tax system, but they think that this is like a 2x4 hitting their sort of tax-paying population over the head.
I live in Miami, and I can tell you almost every week right now there is some California billionaire who comes out as having broken a real estate record for buying a house in Miami that cost $200 million because they are all fleeing the state before a certain deadline, a year deadline, and establishing homesteads in Florida. So that's not helping the California economy. There are so many industries that have left California.
Is she talking about billionaire flight, man? It never happens, dude. It never, it never happens to an extent that it actually makes a real, difference or whatever. Like, all of the billionaires in New York City were all claiming that they were going to leave immediately, day one, as soon as Zoran got put into office, and it didn't happen. So, I don't know. To some extent, they will, if it actually impacts them in a more I think in a more material way than say an extra 5% tax hike or something. That's not enough to move your entire business, and so I'm not saying that there isn't a number that they would actually leave, but I think in general it would have to be a lot higher than people think. And I agree. Nobody works hard enough to be a billionaire. It's unethical to allow people to attain that much wealth, in my personal opinion.
Movie industry, which is so symbolic of California. Most of the productions are right now happening overseas or in other states like New Mexico. It's happening in Canada. It's cheaper to fly people and film a movie in Scotland than it is to do so in California. So they are having very big issues. I think out of all of those people on the stage, somebody needed to stand out. That did not happen. I cannot believe I sat through 2 hours of them bickering instead of drinking margaritas at La Palapa tonight on Cinco de Mayo.
How many drinks?
I do think,
Sorry, we couldn't provide the margaritas.
These things are not mutually exclusive.
We definitely should have had some margaritas on set tonight.
Listen, Tom Steyer's a progressive, and even though he's taken all the money from the coal companies, as Katie Porter keeps saying, he's, now an environmentalist and all of that. So I guess you like him. I have a hard time thinking that a state that is 40% Latino, that is pissed off at billionaires, that thinks they're not paying their fair share, is going to vote for Tom Steyer. It's obvious to me that Javier Becerra has inherited the Swalwell vote, that he's on the ascent, and that's why he was being hit on like a piñata, to go back to my Cinco de Mayo theme tonight by everybody.
Let's talk about the two Republicans who were on the stage. Steve Hilton.
I didn't know that this was a debate with Republicans. I was thinking that this was like just the Democratic primary candidates or whatever. But okay, so this is maybe that's why there's like 100 people in it, right? Because it's a jungle prime, or like I forget what they call it, but where both Republicans and Democrats just all go up against each other.
A recent California transplant from the UK, and Chad Bianco, who's a sheriff. Let me just show you the polls, because I think that to understand where we are here, Steve Hilton is sort of nominally at the top of this pack, to put it mildly. But this is all within the margin of error. We don't really know where this is going right now. But Hilton has the Trump endorsement.
Yeah.
He was asked about whether or not he would support mass deportations, didn't want to say. So how do you leverage a Trump endorsement to a victory in a state like California, where Trump is so unpopular?
Yeah, it's a difficult puzzle to solve. Although I have to say, for Hilton, I didn't know much about him before I started following this campaign. I interviewed him yesterday on my radio.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the Hilton guy, to be honest. Is this like the heir to the Hilton empire or something? Like, is it that Hilton, like the hotel chain? Or like, is this like Paris Hilton's dad or something? Like, I'm gonna have to look it up.
Radio show. He's quite articulate about asking the right questions, which is this: if the state is failed, if the education system has failed, if it's an affordability crisis, if we're only one of 5 states where people are actually leaving instead of going into, if you have all these problems, is it a good idea to have one party rule for so long? And Hilton, I think, has articulated that. I asked him yesterday, is it possible for a Republican to get elected governor of California? He has a
just quick Google search. I don't think it's the same. I don't think it's the Hilton from the hotel chain. But you can fact check me on that. I don't think so. I think he's just a conservative, like association with like Fox News or whatever. But okay.
A way to lay out the math that shows, yes, you could attract independents and even some disaffected Democrats who are sort of fed up with the fact that they live in a state that's beautiful and has all these things going for it, but has been so mismanaged that people hate living here so much that they're fleeing to Miami and other places. And, watching this debate tonight, watching Democrats argue with each other about how to raise more taxes, how to further ruin health care, how to let in more illegal immigrants, it makes you believe that someone like Steve Hilton, if you just articulate the right questions, sometimes that can get you pretty far in a campaign.
Scott. The only way a Republican wins in California if it's somehow.
I mean, never say never. They had the governor, right? Like they had Arnold Schwarzenegger, who won as a Republican. So I don't think it's necessarily impossible. But they probably, I think they have a higher, like, I think it's like less likely. I don't think it's necessarily likely that that's going to happen.
Out of this crazy jungle primary, 2 Republicans
jungle primary,
make
that's it.
But if there is one Democrat against Steve Hilton, whether it's Tom Steyer, whether it's Javier Becerra, that Democrat is going to win.
And my response to that is, you're probably right. But my question is that a good thing? Is it a good thing for California to continue to just vote for the same party that has created all these problems that everyone seems to agree to exist?
Look, you're at a boiling.
There's a lot of problems in California. Don't get me wrong, there is. The housing market, the prices over there are insane. And like it is absurd. But believe me, like having a Republican in charge is not going to solve any of those problems. Like it'll probably accelerate them, depending on how ideological, like ideologically Republican they are. It will probably exacerbate them, if I had to guess. Like, don't get me wrong, like most Democrats who would potentially get that position are probably not going to be much better than Gavin Newsom, gruesome Newsom. But I do think that Tim Steyer potentially might be. Like I said, I'm not an expert on any of these people. He's the only one that I've even remotely looked into. So, that's kind of like my opinion on the matter. But I think I'm probably going to move on